Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to do another fun block in Kimberbell's Pumpkins and Potions ladder quilt project. In today's video we're going to be working on potion bottle number 2, this one right here. This is Take at Your Own Risk. This will be fun to make. So let's go ahead and grab your plastic pouch or bag system that you've labeled with potion bottle number 2. And let's head over the machine and let's get started stitching. Okay, we're at the machine. I want to make sure I have a bobbin of white thread down below. So I'm going to take out the black thread from the last video. And I'm going to load a bobbin with white thread in it. There we go. Make sure you loop it and load it. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put white thread up on top. Here's my white thread. So I'm going to put this on the top of my machine so that we are fully locked and loaded, so to speak, to start stitching. Okay, now I have my 5 by 7 inch hoop filled with a piece of the water soluble stabilizer. This is a stabilizer that will dissolve when we're done because we're going to be stitching the clear plastic vinyl portion of this potion bottle first. So it's a 5 by 7 hoop with a piece of the wash away stabilizer. Okay, I have a Baby Lock Destiny machine. If you have something similar you can follow along. It's identical to the Embroidery machine. Okay, so I'm going to click Embroidery. I'm going to click on my flash drive. There we go. Click on Pumpkins and Potions. And I am looking for the potion bottle that says Take at Your Own Risk. And this is not the bottle itself. We'll be actually using this one later. We want to do the top of the bottle, which is the clear vinyl. So we want the one that says Take at Your Own Risk. That's the one we want. Go ahead and click Set. It brings it right in. We don't have to do anything else to it. We click Embroidery. Okay, so now let's go to the hoop cam. And we're ready to start stitching. So I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to stitch out the placement line for the vinyl. Okay, so now I want you to go to your embellishment pack and I want you to pull out a piece of the clear plastic vinyl. That's so cool. So we're going to place this down just inside that top stitch line and just inside that side stitch line on the left. And I'm going to put a piece of embroidery tape down because I want to keep this in place. I don't want this to move as I'm stitching. So I'm reusing the embroidery tape from the last block until it doesn't stick anymore. And you can reuse this pink embroidery tape on here like 4 or 5 times easily before it starts to peel up. You can tell it's just starting to peel up. Okay. Yeah, see, this will peel up, but it's enough so I can use it to tack this vinyl down. So now the next stitch that it's going to do is the tack down for this clear vinyl. So keep the white thread up on top, put the foot down, and let's tack down the vinyl. Okay, that's good. So I can go ahead and peel the tape back up. Because now that it's in place, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so now we're going to stitch out the placement line for the fabric. So I want you to get out your plastic pouch system that you've labeled potion bottle number 2, and I want you to get out the medium size piece of fabric right here which is what we're going to be using here in a minute for the potion bottle. So I'm going to make a decision. I am going to be using the orange fabric for my potion bottle, and then I'm going to be doing a black decorative stitch on top of this. So I don't need to change my thread to orange. I can go ahead and change my thread to black, because that will be the tack down of the fabric, then we'll trim the fabric, and then we'll do the stitch right on top. So it can all be done with the black thread. Okay, so put the color thread of choice that you're going to be stitching out your seine, take at your own risk, and put that color thread in the top of your machine. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and switch my bobbin down below to a bobbin with black thread in it, which is going to help when we stitch out the seine. Now, if you're going to do your seine, take at your own risk in purple, then I want you to put a bobbin with purple thread down below. I want you to match whatever color thread you put in the top to do your seine in. I want you to put that same color thread in a bobbin down below. That will help with any tension issues and make sure that your text comes out perfectly nice and clear. Okay, so now I'm going to put the foot down and I'm going to stitch out the placement line for the fabric. Okay, so now we're going to put the fabric down, covering that placement line completely on all sides. Put the foot down and let's tack down this fabric. You got this. Okay, so now I want you to take the hoop off the machine and go over to the table, and I want you to trim away the excess fabric from around all four sides of this stitch out. Now you're going to notice that there's some swirls down here, here, up here, and up here. It's going to be next to impossible to get in there, so what you can do is just when you're cutting around here, make a smooth cut, kind of continuous, maybe with a little indent, and then come out. So you're not actually going to go inside the swirl. Just do a gentle cut around the outside of it, and I'll show you what I mean when I meet you right back here. Okay, I even did mine a little bit differently. I didn't do that indent. Kimberbell does a little indent here, but realizing this is raw edge applique, I kind of like the way it looks with just a smoother kind of a curve around there. I don't want to fray any fabric in here and then have it cause to ravel too. So I kind of like it like that. As you can see it here. See if I can get a little closer view this direction. There you go. So I just did a smooth cut. Went in there with a little indent in the middle and then came out with a smooth cut around the outside. I think that looks nice. Okay. So leave your black thread down below and your black thread up on top, because now we're going to put the foot down and we're going to stitch out the seine. Take at your own risk. This is about a 4-minute stitch out in real life. Here we go. Enjoy. Okay, that looks good. We have a few jump stitches that we need to take care of. One, we just got to clean up the beginning of the letter T, and then there's a jump stitch between the letter T and A. So I'm just going to go under there, floof it up as I call it. There's another little one here between the A and the T, and at the bottom of the R there's one there, and then at the bottom between S and the K, kind of floof it up and then trim it. Alright, that looks good. So now what I want you to do, because this part is done, I want you to take this out of the hoop. Okay, put the hoop off to one side. Okay, so now we are going to trim around this exactly on that placement slash trimming line. So that's where we want to cut. You're cutting the stabilizer and the vinyl all at the same time, and if you cut right on that line, it kind of undoes the stitches as well. Okay, to put that to one side. Here we go. Right on that line. And if you're not exactly perfect, don't worry, because you've got a little bit of a cushion, but you want to get basically on that line on all four sides. Okay, so bear with me here for a second while I finish this up. Just cut on that line. Got it. Okay. So we're going to put all that off to one side. Okay, now you have a potion bottle top that looks like this, and you've got the clear vinyl, and then you've got the water-soluble stabilizer on the back side. So the first thing I want to do is kind of pull up and separate this water-soluble stabilizer, and then I want to trim about 1/4 of an inch away from any of those decorative stitches, because I do not want to nick any of those stitches. So just do 1/4 of an inch or so all the way around, cutting just the stabilizer. Okay, this is just getting the excess of this water soluble stabilizer off of the back, so you don't have to dissolve as much as you would if this stuff was still on here. So see, I got all that, throw that away, and see, so now you're left with just this border around the edge. Let's trim that a little bit more. Okay, so now what I want you to do is go to a sink and wet a paper towel. Get like a paper plate or a paper bowl or something that you can use to work on. And I want you to dissolve all of this wash away stabilizer around the outside edge and on the inside of this potion label. Okay, don't worry about the threads. We'll cut the threads later after it's dried. Just dissolve the stabilizer along all of this back side, and I will meet you right back here. Okay, so I've got this now all dissolved on the back side. I'm just going to leave this to set off to the one side to dry. And while we're waiting for that to dry, we can go ahead and get started on the second section of this block. I put a bobbin with white thread down below, and I put white thread up on top, and I reloaded my 5x7 hoop with a piece of the poly no-show mesh stabilizer. So now let's go to the screen cam and load the design. Okay, so I'm going to go to Embroidery, I'm going to go to my flash drive, I'm going to go to Pumpkins and Potions, and I'm going to load the quilting design first. I'm looking for a Halloween 11, but you can really pick whichever design you like. This is the ghost one, and I really like this one, so I'm going to stick with this. I want the ghost that's going up and down. There's a ghost that's going sideways. I want this one here. That's the one I'm looking for. So it is a 4x6 inch design. Click set, and then I'm going to add, go back to my flash drive, go back to Pumpkins and Potions, and I'm looking for the potion bottle number 2, which is this one right here that kind of has a crescent or half moon shaped bottle cap on it. That's the one I need. So I'm going to click set. I don't need to do anything to it, line it up or anything. It's perfect. So I'm going to click embroidery. Now let's go back to the hoop can. Okay, so with white thread up on top, white thread in the bottom, I'm going to put my foot down and let's stitch out the placement line for the batting. Okay, so now I'm going to put a piece of batting down that is 5 inches by 7 inches. Make sure I've covered all sides of that placement line. Put my foot down and let's tack down the batting. Alright, so now I want you to take the hoop off the machine, go to a table, and I want you to trim away this excess batting from around all sides of that stitch line, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, now that that's trimmed up, let's put the foot down and stitch out the placement line for the fabric. Okay, so now I want you to get your plastic pouch system out that is labeled potion bottle number 2 and pull out the rest of the fabric, which is 1 piece of background and 1 piece which is going to be for the bottle cap. So put this piece aside, and now you're going to put the background fabric down here, and we're going to just make sure that you can feel for the batting and see how much fabric you have on each side. We got plenty. So we're good to go. That's how you know you just kind of approximately centered, is by feeling for that edge of the batting. Alright, let's put the foot down and let's tack down this fabric. Make sure you have a color thread on top that matches with your fabric. Okay, foot down and let's tack down this fabric. Now we have to decide what color thread we want to quilt this in. Now this potion bottle is a little bit different. It's not going to have a piece of fabric down as a background for the bottle, and then the confetti on top, and then the label on top of that. It doesn't have that. So whatever this fabric is going to shine through the potion bottle. Okay, so I think I want the quilting to do a little bit of a pop, because I want the glitter to come through, but I also want a little bit of background in addition to the glitter. Now in the embellishment kit you have the remaining glitter, so go ahead and get that out, and let me kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Excuse the rattling. I want to get out the ghost glitter. Okay, so this kind of gives me an idea of what this is going to look like. Then there's going to be an orange bottle top on top of this. So, I'm kind of getting the feel for that. So what if I took a light orange to do the ghost quilting? That I think would be cool, because the glitter's going to shine through. This confetti is then going to shine through with the glitter that's already on the fabric. This will stand out, an orange stitch around the bottle, but then a light orange for the quilting. So the quilting will actually come through a little bit on the potion bottle. I think that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so that's how I've made my decision. Now you get to make your own decision as to what color you want this quilting to be. And then you're going to put that color thread in the top of your machine, and we're going to stitch out the quilting, which is about a 3-minute in real life stitch out. Okay, let's load the needle Okay, now we're good. All right, so when you're ready with your thread up on top, let's put the foot down and stitch out the quilting. I love that. Isn't that fun? That's cool. All right, so I'm going to put the hoop back on. Now we're going to work with this. This is mostly dry. It's a teeny bit wet on the front, but the front will dry. But the back feels dry. So now what I want to do is I want to trim what I call the long grass hairs that are coming up here. I don't want to like take it all the way down. I just want to trim them so that none of them will accidentally cross over this and show up in the future. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll do it on screen here so you can kind of see. Just the tall grass hairs, nothing fancy. Just so that nothing could potentially come outside this edge in the future and show. Because once we stitch this down, there's really no coming back to trim it up. So you have to live with that little fuzzy line. And I got one more here I want to trim. Okay. Get that little guy off. He does not want to come off. Alright. So then I'm just going to take this off, shake it briefly over the trash can, and get my little stragglers up and off with the block. So now I'm going to put black thread in the top of my machine because the next steps, actually I'm not going to do orange around the outside, I'm going to do black. I like Kimberbell's recommendation because then it will match the black accent that we have on this bottle label. And yes, I know this is still a little wet right here, but like I said, the top will dry. The back feels dry, and I've done that with a paper towel and a soft cloth many times. So the back is dried, and this little front piece of fabric will dry on its own even after it's stitched on. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Alright, so I've got black thread up on top. Okay, put this aside. Ooh, we got a loop. We got to get the loop out. Alright, so now let's stitch out the placement line of where we're going to put the vinyl. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to place the vinyl down, and we're going to place it just inside those lines. And let me take the hoop off the machine so I can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Again, just inside those placement lines. And then I'm going to take a piece of embroidery tape and tape it down. There we go, straight down inside that placement line. There we go. And what I might do is when I'm all finished with this block, I might take a little bit of fray check and just put it on the edges because I don't want the fabric to fray anymore as we go along. So I am not a fan of that look. So I will probably fray check it before I sew it into the quilt. Alright. Okay, so now we're taped down. Put the hoop back on, and now it's going to stitch a tack down line which will form the bottom and the sides of the bottle. Leave black thread up on top. Here we go. You got this. Okay, so now I'm going to take the hoop off the machine, and I'm going to take the tape off. This tape here is pretty much done. When it stops staying down, then it's time to let it go in the trash. Like I said, you can reuse this tape like 4 or 5 times before it's like, nope, time for new. All right, so now we've come to the fun part. Now we are going to install the confetti. All right, so my little tool of the trade, or trick of the trade if you want to call it, are straws, okay, or a hard pin inside here, because you could potentially stretch out this vinyl. All right, so straws, you know, are kind of collapsible, but yet they still have enough of a form that they can lift the vinyl ever so slightly to help with insertion of the confetti. All right, so I'm going to put the straw in. You see the straws are collapsed. That's fine. That's what I want. I just want a little bit of stability to be able to insert this confetti into this bottle. And I'm going to insert all of it. I don't have a need for any more of this in some other project. And the other potion bottle has its own confetti as well. So I'm going to slide all of this into the block. All right. And what I do is I open this package. And you see how it's got a sticky side to it? I'm not going to use this envelope again, so I'm going to cut that off. As you're pouring in the confetti, if this flap is in the way, it has that sticky material, and it's going to stick to the straws, it's going to stick to the fabric, it's going to stick to the vinyl, and it's going to make it challenging. So we don't want that. So I get rid of that. All right. So I'm going to turn this hoop slightly, and I'm going to lift the vinyl. All right. And I'm going to actually lift the hoop up a little bit too. You might not be able to see it too well on camera, but I'm going to try to just literally shake this out, all of it. I'm going to just put the confetti like that. I'm going to put it down for a second. Okay. Luckily, this confetti is not the messy type like was in block number 1. That gets everywhere. This is fairly easy. So I'm going to lift it up at an angle, and hopefully you can see this on camera. And I'm going to just ever so slightly with my stylist insert that confetti in here. It's a patient, slow process. Don't hurry. One of them got out. There you go. Let's put you in. This type of confetti I like because it's nice and neat. All right. So what I want to do, I want to turn it to the side, and I want to push it down as far as I can go. All right. Take that out. Then I'm going to take out one straw. And then I'm going to take out the second straw. And I'm going to use this straw to continue to shove in the confetti until I can't see it anymore. Which hopefully it's about 1/2 inch down. You can see it coming down now toward the bottom of the bottle. I got a couple pieces in the straw, which is to be expected because it's a straw. It's got a hole in the middle. All right, that looks good. Okay, it'll move around in the block after it's sewn together. It can have free reign of wherever it wants to go. All right, so we've got that in. You just want it down at least 1/2 inch so that you don't have any issues when you do the rest of the stitching. All right, so the confetti is in. I'm going to leave black thread up on top because it's going to continue the bottle all the way up and around, and it's going to seal that confetti in place. Here we go. Very nice. Okay, so now I'm going to leave the thread up above the same. It's going to stitch a placement line for the bottle cap. Foot down, and let's go. Okay, so now I just want to put the last piece of fabric we have, which is for the bottle cap, put it down, covering all of that placement line. Put the foot down, and let's tack down this fabric. You're almost done, you got this. Okay, so now I want you to take the hoop off the machine, go over to the table, and I want you to trim away the excess fabric from around that stitch line. I also forgot to have you trim the vinyl, but it's no problem because now at the same time, after you've trimmed this fabric, I want you to trim the vinyl all the way around the outside of the bottle. This is raw edge applique, so there'll be no further stitches on it. So get close, but don't nick those stitches, okay? Trim the excess of this bottle cap and trim your vinyl around the outside edge, and I'll meet you right back here. Alright, now I'm just going to clean up any of the little threads that were generated from that cutting, and it's looking good. So I'm going to put the hoop back on the machine, and now it's going to do some decorative stitching around that bottle cap. So I'm going to leave the black thread still up on top. You got this! Now the machine is still showing one last stitch. We do not stitch this out. This is kind of a centering line that Kimberbell puts in so that we can have the design automatically centered on the block. So we do not stitch this last stitch out. We're done. Once you do that decorative stitch on the bottle, you're done. Cool. How about that? All right, so let's take the hoop off the machine. Let's go over to a table and let's finish up this block. Okay, I really like this block. And you can move the glitter accessories around in there as well by just kind of pushing up to give it a little bit of a pouch, and then you can move those around on the inside. Cool. All right, so the last two things we need to do is to square this block up and take out the placement lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is square it up. I'm going to measure from this stitch line to this stitch line, and it needs to be 6.5. It's just a little bit shy of 6.5, so that's okay. We can use that. And then from this stitch line to this stitch line, it's 4.5. And I'm talking about that outer stitch line that I did in white, not the stitch line it did in orange. The stitch line it did outside, kind of like a basting stitch in white. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to line my ruler up with this white outer stitch line and put it on that stitch line and go just a teeny bit past it. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. So I am ready to make my first cut. Okay, now I'm going to line this up on my mat. My mat goes from 24 down to 1 because I'm trying to wear out this side of the mat. So I am going to put my block on 16. I'm going to go down to 10.5. And you're going to have a little bit of an uneven surface because of the bottle. Not a problem. I'm going to line up my ruler with this stitch line, and then I'm going to line it up with on my mat, putting the weight on the right side to keep it sturdy. Reposition and line up my ruler so it's on 10.5. Can I see that stitch line? Yes, it's just under my ruler, and very carefully make that cut. Okay, so those two sides are good. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to line my ruler up with the bottom of the block and put it on the stitch line, and then just a little bit past Can I see that stitch line? Yes, I can. Again, I've got my weight on the right side of the ruler, and then very carefully make that cut. Same thing, I'm going to come over here, put it on 15. I'm going to go down to 11.5. Line my ruler up with the bottom edge, then line it up with the mat so that I am on, what did I say, 15. I'm on 11.5. Can I see that stitch line? Yes. It's just underneath the ruler, and then I can make that cut. All right. So now we have the block square to 4.5 by 6.5. Now we need to take out our seam ripper, and we need to take out the placement lines that are in all four corners that were for the vinyl. We need to take those out. And I did my stitching in black so I can easily see it. I don't want to puncture the quilting underneath it. Okay, so if I have to take my seam ripper, like on this one, it crosses down here on the orange thread. I'm not going to go down there to tackle it. I'm going to go up here and take it out up into that orange stitch line. See, then I don't accidentally nick that stitch line. Up here also with the quilting, I'll start over here, work my way, and then that stitch will loosen, and then I can come over here. I don't want to pull up any of the quilting. All right, so let's do that, and I'll meet you right back here when that's done. All right, that was a little bit of a challenge. Let me take off that little bit of thread there, because the start and stop parts of each stitch make it a little challenging. So sometimes you have to come on the back and try to wiggle up the back of that thread to get it all out. But that's cool, and I can move my confetti on the inside so you can see more of it. That's awesome. Look at that. You did it. Congratulations. So I hope you had as much fun making this block as I did, and I hope you stay tuned here on Jolly Molly TV for more fun and more adorable blocks on Kimberbell's Pumpkins and Potions Ladder Quilt Project. And until next time, take care and happy stitching. Bye-bye.